Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy, John Bradley, back at it again with another school assignment. Today, we doing a true crime podcast with my friend,
Jaden, what's up?
Jaden. We both LMU students, going for different things, but he also likes true crime and he watches true crime
A
podcasts. So,
lot of Sword and Scale. Very good stuff.
yeah, not gonna lie, if I was talking about myself, I'd be going crazy because I get terrible social anxiety. Alright, so as you can see in the top right, the case we're gonna do today is Chris Watts. And if you don't know the story of Chris Watts, there's a lot of books about it and it's really messed up. So I'm gonna cut out all the really detailed stuff from what happened, but I gotta keep the majority of it in. So that's your trigger warning. They're gonna be some heavy themes. You know anything about Chris Watts, Jade?
Actually, I don't like of all the podcast episodes that I've listened to and watched and stuff. Like nobody has ever really brought up his name,
I
but
think I
I'm excited to learn.
think I have a book somewhere around here called The Perfect Father, but that I wrote a paper about that like 3 years ago, and that was my first introduction to this case. But brief overview before we get into the nitty gritty of it is this guy killed his wife and both of his daughters, and his wife was pregnant with his third kid.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
messed up, bro.
it is messed up,
That's
dog.
messed up.
Not even planned. So basically, the story starts that this guy was like perfect father, normal life, like absolute happy family. Nobody saw anything wrong with him. Nobody saw anything going on. They were like, Chris Watts, that's a stand up dude. And then one morning, I think his wife, from what I know, was supposed to go to a doctor's appointment with her neighbor slash friend.
Like a pregnancy appointment type thing.
Yeah, about the kid, definitely.
Mm.
But basically, they started out. They met like on Facebook. They he was in New Jersey for something and met her on Facebook, and they moved to North Carolina. The woman does, and that's where she like really meets him. And they got a friend request, and she was like, "Oh man, what the heck? I'm never gonna meet this dude. I'll accept it." And then she did, and then like one thing led to another. They get married, have a couple of kids. November 2012, they finally get married, and then in 2013, they get their first daughter, Bella. 2015, they get their second daughter, and then in 2015, like June, so like the month before they have their second daughter, they file for bankruptcy.
Interesting.
So then she posts like a Facebook post on May 5th. She's like, I love waking up, being able to enjoy my family in Colorado and everything. I believe that everything in life happens for a reason, you know? She's really happy. And then just a month later in June, she's like, hey, we're expecting another kid.
Let me get this straight. They filed for bankruptcy and they're expecting another kid?
Yeah, and then they move. Well, this is 3 years later that
Wow.
they get another kid, but they filed for bankruptcy in
Oh, okay.
2015. Then they moved to Colorado after
Okay,
filing
okay,
for
okay.
bankruptcy.
Heard that.
So then she like gives him this post, and she's like, on June 11th, she's like, I'm really happy to surprise you. You know, I got a shirt on that says, Oops, we did it again. And she's like, We have another kid on the way. And then 6 days later, she sends a message. She's like, We're so blessed to have you for Father's Day and stuff like that. You're the reason I was brave enough to agree to kid number three. And then in June, also at the same time, he starts talking to Nicole Kessinger.
Oh, so
He
he's two
starts,
timing.
yeah, he starts having an affair in
Oh
early
man.
July, and they keep going on dates and stuff, and he's two-timing her. And then he flies to North Carolina to join his family on a like I can't even remember why they flew back to North Carolina. I want to say it's a family vacation, but he flew out to North Carolina to go on this vacation with him. And then she's shopping for wedding dresses. The guy or the girl he's having an affair with, like Nicole, she's shopping for wedding dresses. And
Oh,
then Shanann, the wife, Shanann, we'll just say Shanann because
Shannon.
that's how it's
Shannon.
SHAN, comma ANN or apostrophe, not comma.
I feel like that's like
Shannon.
Kind of Shannon. I don't know.
Don't know. But then, like in August, she leaves to go to Arizona on some business after she confides to some of her friends. She's like, "Oh my god, me and Chris were having marital problems. I think he's having an affair, stuff like that." She confides to her friends and says they had their best talk yet before she leaves on this trip. And then Chris hires a babysitter and goes out with her. And then 2 days later, Shannon comes back to the house at 1:48 a.m. August 13th. And that
Damn
exact
late,
same
bruh.
day, Chris wakes Shannon up, getting ready for work, talks about their marriage and their future with his kid, and he tells her that he had an affair and that their marriage won't last. And she replies, "Well, you're not going to see your kids again." So he chokes her out, kills her. So then
Just like that, huh?
his daughter comes in and asks, "What's wrong with mommy?" And he wraps her in a blanket and carries her to his truck. And he puts his kids in the back seat and goes to his job site. And when he gets there, he smothers his daughter Celeste in the back seat and throws her in an oil tank, and then does the same with the other daughter and throws her in an oil tank. And then he walks nearby and digs a grave and buries his wife. So he killed both of his daughters and his expecting wife, threw his daughters in oil tanks to hide the bodies and the smell, and then buried his wife like a few feet away.
Wait, so hold on. He killed 4 people, technically.
Three. Well, four technically, yeah.
What did he do with his daughters? He just put them in oil drums and just like
Yeah, he
left them?
just threw their bodies in oil drums and left them.
Okay, how does he? Okay, just trying to get into his mind here a little bit. How did he not expect to get popped for that?
So
Because
we're getting to how he tried to cover it up next.
okay, I'm
Because at
interested.
5:15, his story on like the news source that came to interview him later, he was like, "I left for work really early that morning after having an emotional conversation with his wife." And so Shannon had a doctor's appointment because she's pregnant, and her friend that was supposed to go with her grows like really concerned she hasn't shown up yet, and calls the local police and is like, "This girl is missing." So they go to her house to do a welfare check, and they're like, "Okay, hello, is anybody here?" And they call Chris to come to the house, and immediately the police can tell he's acting kind of off. He's like, "I don't know where they went." And then like she just said she was going to a friend's house with the kids, and that's the last I heard from her. Like I don't know where she went. And the police like are looking for him. They file a missing persons report, and then Colorado, like the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, they are like, "Okay, issue an endangered missing alert." And he talks to the ABC, like the news source for Denver, and he keeps pleading for his family to come out. He's like, "If you guys are out there, please come home. I need to see everybody again. This house isn't complete without you." And then in like 2018, he fails a polygraph test because they finally test him. They're like, "Okay, something's up here. Take this test." And then he admits that, or he fails the polygraph test, and then his dad comes in and he's like, "Dad, I killed them."
Mmm.
Um, and he's like, "I killed my wife, but it's because she smothered our daughters." And then they recover the bodies at the job site, and he's like trying to file for parole at the same time, gets denied. Obviously, he wants bond. I mean, not parole. He gets denied for bond, obviously. And they're
Of
like,
course.
they all think he's crazy. And Nicole even comes and speaks to the police, like, "I legitimately think this dude was insane long before he met me." And then
Wow.
he gets charged with the murders and pleads guilty to like 9 counts of murder, like criminal murder and tampering
Okay,
with a
wait.
body, unlawful termination of
Mm,
pregnancy, and two additional first degree charges because both the daughters were under 12 years old.
wow.
And then he pleads guilty and confesses to killing his daughters and gives a detailed explanation of how he did it. And then he gets ordered to pay $6 million to Shannon's parents for killing her daughters and her, and like ripping them out of that person's life.
where did he get the money? He was bankrupt. Like,
Don't know, but
had to get it somewhere. I mean,
that
working off in jail, I guess.
I mean, that's like they're not going to get any money from it, but it does prevent him from like telling his story and profiting off of it. So I mean, I guess that's kind of the like that's kind of the thing. And then he did like a 5 hour interview in jail discussing how he killed his daughters in their final moments and disposing like of their bodies and stuff. And one person described it as like the epitome of being angry, the epitome of showing rage, the epitome of losing your mind. I think that's how he described it, talking about after he smothered Celeste, his older daughter was like, "Are you going to do that to me too?" And then he did it to her.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah,
Oh
that's the whole
wow.
case because he's rotting in jail. So
Good. I mean, honestly, like hearing all that, he deserves to be under the jail.
it's a
But
tough situation. Like there was a lot of people who were like, "I never expected him to do this." He seemed so like good as a dad, like he was the perfect dad, and then he just nixed all of his family.
wow.
And I think the reason they said he did it, the psychological state he's under, I think they're called family annihilators, like the mental state it is. I don't know what exactly it's called, but I know like family annihilators or it's a mental state where it's like people who like kill their families out of like revenge or something or like because there's a lot of pressure that mounts or something on them they just kill their family. And it's a
Wow.
mental state that some people undergo.
Doesn't sound like a mental state that I want to be a part of, but
Oh,
I
absolutely
mean,
not.
no,
I mean, it's
that's
a
like
heavy case, dude.
it is heavy, and I know that you left out a lot of the details because like it's YouTube and you can't really post that kind of stuff. But uh, dang, like man, I mean like the point that you have to get to be that angry and violent in like that moment of just like knowing you've been caught and knowing that you're gonna get consequences
And then, like,
is
also,
crazy.
he strangles his wife, kills both of his daughters, and when he's confronted about the fact that he killed his wife, he's like, I killed it because she killed both my daughters. Like, he killed his wife and then pinned everything on her.
Yeah, and then well the thing that gets to me is like you have two young daughters, you kill your wife, and then you wrap your wife in a blanket and just sit her in the car with your alive daughters. That's insane.
Yeah, and
That's
drive
insane.
them, drive them to an oil field. And then in front of the oldest, you smother your youngest. And then, like, as she looks at you, kind of tears in her eyes, is like, Are you going to do that to me too? You just
And
smother her too? Like,
you just do it anyways.
the
Like you have to
mental
be in some kind
state,
of
yeah,
yeah.
it takes to do that is insane to me.
It's wild.
Like, having an affair and then killing your wife because of your affair and then making your daughter suffer for it too is insane to me.
Well, here's the thing. He had the affair. It was his fault.
Absolutely.
Then he kills his wife. Again, his fault. Kills his daughters. His fault. When asked about this, he says, "I killed my wife because she killed my daughters." Like, you are at fault for everything that has happened, but you still want to pin the blame on somebody
And
else.
then what kind of mental state does it take for the like parents of your wife and grandparents of your daughters and stuff to ask you about it and you're on local news like pleading for them to come home? Like they ran away from home or something and the entire time you know you just murdered them.
That's insane. Wow. I'm
Yeah,
glad this dude's in jail.
absolutely. See, that's the thing is like a lot of criminals will do stuff like this. It's kind of like every famous serial killer aside from like the Zodiac off the top of my head that I can think of has been caught.
Yeah.
Eventually, like the blood on your hands does catch up to you, and the fact that he failed the polygraph is kind of that catching up to him. Like he was
Nice.
obviously really on edge and nervous the whole time, so they were like, "All right, we're gonna polygraph him because he may have killed him." And then what do you know? He did. He killed all of them.
That's insane,
Yeah, it's a crazy
bro. Well,
story.
I mean, I'm glad that dude is in jail, and I'm glad that he got what he deserved. I mean, it's not nearly what he deserved, but still, like, I don't know.
Well, I think that's about the end of the timeline of that case. Just a quick little brief overview of it. Anything you want to say as we close this one out?
I think that criminals need to get punished harsher, but that's a whole another conversation for a whole another day.
Depends on the criminal sometimes, but yeah, I agree. There are
Yeah, fair
some
enough.
situations where some people deserve more than they got. Like the fact that he's just gonna get to have paid meals and
Free
rent for
housing.
the rest of his life does kind of irk me the wrong way too. But
It does,
we consider that retaliation, our justice. So, well,
I guess.
I think that's our time. I don't have much else to say about the case other than R.I.P. Shanann and those two daughters. I hope they're up in
For
heaven
real.
doing well.
Hope the little baby she was carrying is doing well too, man. For real. That's
Yeah, that's a soul.
crazy. They sold.
Well, this is